Let me ask you something that most doctors never think to ask their patients over 60. What is the very first thing you put into your body every single morning? Not what you eat for breakfast, not your vitamins, the very first liquid that touches your lips before anything else happens in your day. Because here is what I have discovered after decades of studying how the body fights disease: that first moment of the morning is not just routine, it is biology in action, and most people over 60 are wasting it completely without knowing it. My name is Dr. William Lee. I am a physician, scientist, and the author of Eat to Beat Disease. I have spent the better part of my career working alongside cancer researchers, oncologists, and some of the world's top scientists studying how the body defends itself at the cellular level. And what I am going to share with you today is not a trend, not a marketing gimmick, and not something I read on a wellness blog. This is grounded in real biology, the kind we study in research labs, the kind that shows up in peer-reviewed science, the kind that actually matters when we talk about how your body manages the buildup of internal damage after the age of 60. If you are new here, this channel is called BioSecrets, and if this kind of evidence-based health information is what you want, more of practical science that you can actually use, then take a second right now and hit subscribe. We put out content like this regularly, and I want to make sure you do not miss it. Now, before I tell you about the drink itself, I need to tell you something that changes the way this entire conversation makes sense, and it starts with a misunderstanding that most people carry around for their entire lives. When most people hear the word detox, they picture juice cleanses, expensive powders, or some kind of spa treatment that costs a small fortune. And honestly, the wellness industry has done a tremendous job of turning a real and important biological process into a marketing opportunity. But here is the truth: your body already has a detoxification system. It has had one since before you were born. The liver, the kidneys, the lymphatic system, the gut lining, even your skin — these are not passive organs just sitting there. They are actively filtering, processing, and clearing out harmful compounds every single second of your life. So the real question is never, how do I detox? The real question is, what happens to my body's detox system as I get older, and what can I do to help it keep working the way it should? And this is where the conversation gets genuinely important, especially for anyone over 60. Here is something that changes after 60 that most people are never told: the biological systems that handle detoxification in your body do not decline equally or all at once. They slow down gradually, quietly, and in ways that accumulate over time. Your liver's enzyme activity, the cellular machinery responsible for processing and neutralizing harmful compounds, begins to function at a lower efficiency. The flow of bile, which plays a critical role in clearing fat-soluble toxins from the body, becomes less optimal. The kidneys, which filter your blood continuously and remove waste products through urine, receive less blood flow than they did in your younger years because cardiovascular function shifts with age. Your gut microbiome, the ecosystem of bacteria living in your intestines that plays a surprisingly central role in detox pathways, loses diversity, and that loss directly affects how certain compounds are processed and eliminated. What this means in practical terms is that the same body you had at 40, which could handle oxidative stress, metabolic waste, and environmental exposures with relative ease, is now working harder to do the same job with slightly less efficiency. The accumulation is real, the slowdown is measurable, and ignoring it has consequences that show up in the form of fatigue, brain fog, joint discomfort, digestive sluggishness, and over time, a higher vulnerability to chronic inflammation, which is one of the foundational drivers of most age-related diseases, including heart disease, metabolic disorders, and yes, cancer. Now, I want to be careful here because this is not about fear. I do not believe in using fear to motivate health decisions. What I do believe in is understanding your biology so well that you feel empowered to work with it. So let me bring you into the solution, and let me explain exactly why this one morning drink is worth your attention. The drink is warm water with fresh lemon juice. And before you click away thinking you already knew this, stay with me, because what most people do not understand is the specific biological sequence that happens in your body when you consume this drink at the right time, in the right way, on a consistent basis. The difference between knowing something casually and understanding what it actually does inside your body is the difference between doing it randomly and doing it with intention. Let us start with the warm water itself, because this part is almost always skipped over in these conversations. When you wake up in the morning, your body has just completed somewhere between 6 and 8 hours without any fluid intake. Your blood is slightly more concentrated. Your digestive system is essentially in a resting state. Your liver, which has been working through the night processing the byproducts of cellular metabolism, is primed and ready to move those byproducts out, but it needs fluid to do so efficiently. Warm water, specifically not cold, not room temperature, but genuinely warm, close to body temperature, does something that cold water does not. It does not cause the mild vascular constriction that cold liquid can trigger in the digestive tract. Instead, it promotes gentle movement in the intestinal muscles, a process called peristalsis. Think of your intestines like a long, muscular tube that uses rhythmic contractions to move content along. Warm water encourages that movement to begin gently, preparing the system for the clearance of waste that has accumulated overnight. This is not metaphor, it is physiology. Now add fresh lemon juice to that warm water, and something interesting happens at the biological level. Lemons are rich in a compound called citrate, the salt form of citric acid, which interacts with your digestive chemistry in a way that is genuinely useful. Citrate helps support the alkalinization of urine, which is relevant because certain metabolic waste products and excess minerals are cleared more effectively through urine when the pH environment is slightly more alkaline. It also plays a role in reducing the likelihood of crystal formation in the kidneys, which is one reason citric acid has been studied in the context of kidney stone prevention. But the compound in lemon that gets the most attention from researchers studying cellular health is a flavonoid called hesperidin, along with its cousin naringenin, both of which belong to a class of plant compounds that have been shown in laboratory and clinical studies to have meaningful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory activity. These are not obscure compounds. They are well studied, they are found naturally in citrus fruits, and they interact with your body's internal defense systems in ways that are genuinely measurable. Here is one way to visualize what antioxidants are actually doing in your body. Every day, as your cells produce energy, they generate byproducts called free radicals. Think of free radicals as sparks flying off a fire. In small amounts, they serve a purpose. The immune system actually uses them to fight off pathogens. But when they accumulate in excess, those sparks start damaging the surrounding tissue. They oxidize cell membranes, they can damage DNA, they stress the mitochondria, and over time this oxidative burden contributes to the kind of cellular aging and inflammation that creates the conditions for chronic disease. Antioxidants from food, including the flavonoids in lemon juice, act like a protective shield around those sparks. They neutralize excess free radicals before they can cause damage. And because your body's own antioxidant production, including a critical molecule called glutathione, begins to decline after your 50s and 60s, getting more antioxidant support from your diet becomes genuinely more important, not less important, as you age. There is also something worth understanding about what lemon does for your liver specifically, because the liver is the central organ in your body's entire detoxification process. Inside your liver, there are two major stages of detoxification, typically referred to as phase 1 and phase 2. In phase 1, fat-soluble toxins, things like certain environmental chemicals, metabolic waste products, and compounds that your body cannot easily eliminate on their own, are converted into intermediate substances. In phase 2, those intermediates are made water-soluble so they can be excreted through bile or urine. This two-phase process requires specific nutrients and cofactors to function well. And here is where it gets interesting. The flavonoids in citrus, particularly hesperidin, and the limonoids found in lemon peel and juice, have been studied for their ability to modulate phase 1 and support phase 2 liver enzymes. Research has shown that limonoids, compounds unique to citrus fruits, can upregulate detoxification enzymes in liver cells. This means that consistent consumption of fresh lemon is not just adding a pleasant flavor to your morning, it is interacting with the cellular machinery your liver uses to process and remove harmful compounds from your blood. And let me add one more layer here, because this is one of the most overlooked benefits of this morning drink: its effect on the gut. Your gut lining is one of the most important barrier systems in your body. It is not just a passive tube, it is a selective border letting in nutrients your body needs and keeping out pathogens, toxins, and undigested particles that should not enter your bloodstream. When this lining is compromised, a condition sometimes described as increased intestinal permeability, harmful compounds that should have been excreted can pass through and enter circulation, triggering systemic inflammation. Research has shown that polyphenols from citrus fruits help support the integrity of the gut lining by interacting with the tight junctions, the cellular connections that hold the lining together. They also act as a prebiotic-like substrate, feeding beneficial bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, which in turn nourish the cells of the intestinal wall. So when you drink lemon water in the morning, you are not just doing something nice for your liver, you are supporting a gut environment that is better equipped to prevent the reabsorption of waste products your body has already tried to eliminate. Now I want to talk about timing, because this is where most people get it wrong even when they have the right idea. The most effective window for this drink is within the first 15 to 20 minutes of waking up, before food, before coffee, before anything else. Here is why. After sleep, your body's circadian rhythm naturally signals the liver to ramp up its detox activity in the early morning hours. Bile flow tends to increase, kidney filtration becomes more active, and the digestive system begins preparing for the day. Drinking warm lemon water in this window essentially meets the body at a moment when it is already primed for clearance. You are not fighting your biology, you are working with it. Contrast this with having your coffee first. Coffee is not inherently bad. There is actually compelling research on coffee's own health benefits. But caffeine triggers a cortisol response, stimulates the nervous system, and can temporarily reduce blood flow to the digestive organs. Drinking your warm lemon water before your coffee allows the body to begin its natural morning clearance cycle without interference. And for those of you asking about cold lemon water versus warm cold water is fine and certainly better than nothing. But as I mentioned earlier, cold liquids require your body to expend energy to warm them to body temperature before they can be processed, and they can slow the very intestinal movement we are trying to gently encourage. Warm water creates a much more cooperative environment for the process we want to support. Let me address something I know is on many of your minds because I get this question from patients frequently. If I already eat well and take my vitamins, why would this simple morning drink make any real difference? Here is the honest answer. Most supplements are consumed midday or with meals, when digestive complexity is high and competition for absorption is significant. Most of the nutrients in food are processed alongside other macronutrients that can alter their bioavailability. The morning window before food with warm water provides a relatively clear pathway for the bioactive compounds in fresh lemon juice to be absorbed efficiently. There is less interference. The liver is primed. The gut is rested. It is genuinely one of the most efficient delivery windows in the biological day. This is not to say this drink replaces other healthy habits. It absolutely does not. What it does is add a simple, inexpensive, evidence-informed practice to the beginning of your day that supports the biological systems most responsible for clearing harmful buildup from your body. Now I want to give you some practical guidance on how to do this correctly because the details matter. Use real, fresh lemons, not lemon-flavored products, not concentrated lemon juice from a bottle, not lemon powder packets. The bioactive compounds we have been discussing, hesperidin, naringenin, limonoids, vitamin C, are present in their most effective form in fresh squeezed juice. Processing and concentration methods alter the chemical profile of the juice, often reducing the potency of the very compounds you are seeking. Use half a fresh lemon to start, squeezed into 8 to 10 ounces of warm water. The temperature should feel comfortable to sip, not scalding, not cool. Think of the warmth of a cup of herbal tea. If you have any history of acid reflux or sensitive tooth enamel, you can dilute it slightly more or use a straw to minimize direct contact with your teeth. Rinsing your mouth with plain water after drinking. It is a simple protective step many people find helpful. Do this on an empty stomach every morning consistently. The benefits of this practice are not dramatic and immediate. They are cumulative and systemic. The liver enzyme support, the gut barrier reinforcement, the antioxidant activity. These are not overnight transformations. They are biological patterns that compound over weeks and months of consistent practice, just like most things that genuinely matter in health. And here is what I want you to think about in terms of what this represents beyond the drink itself. The act of establishing a consistent morning health ritual is itself a form of biological signaling. Your body's systems, including your circadian rhythm, your stress hormones, your digestive timing, respond to consistency. When you wake up and do the same health-supporting thing every morning, you are not just delivering nutrients. You are anchoring your body's daily rhythms around a supportive pattern. That anchoring has its own downstream benefits for metabolism, immune regulation, and even sleep quality. I also want to mention something that complements this morning drink and makes it significantly more effective, because this is a layer that is almost never discussed. Hydration volume throughout the day matters just as much as the morning drink itself. Your kidneys cannot efficiently filter and flush water-soluble waste products if they do not have sufficient fluid volume to work with. Most adults over 60 are mildly chronically underhydrated, not because they are not drinking at all, but because the thirst response diminishes with age. You may not feel as thirsty as you once did even when your body genuinely needs more fluid. The morning lemon water starts the day with intention, but aiming for consistent, steady fluid intake throughout the day ensures that the filtration and clearance systems your body is using all day long have what they need to function. The goal is not 8 glasses as a rigid rule. It is consistent sipping throughout the day so your urine stays a pale straw yellow rather than concentrated and dark. I want to take a moment here and speak to something deeper that I think matters when we talk about health over 60. There is a narrative in our culture that aging is a passive process, that you reach a certain age and things simply begin to break down and there is little to be done about it. I reject that narrative, and the science rejects it too. The research coming out of longevity science, cancer biology, and cellular medicine is increasingly Clear that the body retains remarkable capacity for regeneration, adaptation, and self-repair well into our later decades, but that capacity depends heavily on the environment we create for it through daily choices. What you drink in the morning matters. What you eat throughout the day matters. How you move, how you sleep, how you manage stress, all of these are signals your body receives and responds to at the cellular level. And for those of you over 60, these signals may matter even more than they did in your 30s, precisely because the margin for error narrows with age. The body is still capable and still adaptable, but it benefits more from conscious support. The morning warm lemon water is one of the simplest, most accessible, most cost-effective ways to begin supporting your body's internal clearance systems every single day. It does not require a prescription. It does not require a complicated routine. It requires a lemon, some warm water, and 15 minutes of your morning before the rest of the day begins. I want to leave you with this thought before we close. The biology of how your body manages toxins, handles oxidative stress, and maintains its internal environment is not a mystery reserved for scientists and physicians. It is your biology, and understanding it even at a general level gives you something powerful. It gives you agency. It gives you the ability to make choices that are not based on trends or marketing, but on an understanding of how your own body actually works. That is what I have dedicated my career to communicating, not just to patients in clinical settings, but to people everywhere who deserve to understand their own health well enough to protect it. If you found this information genuinely useful today, I would encourage you to do one thing before you leave. Write a comment below and tell me what is the first thing you drink every morning right now. I read these responses and your answers genuinely inform the content I create. I want to know where you are starting from. And if you have a family member or a close friend who is over 60, a parent, a sibling, a friend you care about, please share this video with them, not to lecture them, but because the information we share with the people we love is one of the most meaningful things we can do for their health. The simple act of sending this to one person today could genuinely make a difference in how they begin their mornings. If you are not yet subscribed to BioSecrets, I want to gently remind you to do that now. This channel is built on the same principle that guides my work as a physician, that science-based health information, communicated clearly and honestly, has the power to change lives. We publish content like this regularly, and I want you to be here for it. Your body is not working against you. It never has been. It is working every single moment of every single day to keep you protected, balanced, and alive. The least we can do is meet it halfway. A warm glass of lemon water every morning is a small act, but it is the kind of small act that, done consistently and with understanding, becomes a meaningful part of how you age with strength and vitality. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.